Hello and welcome to the 5 critical requirements for delivery of breakthrough cloud-based operational analytics. My name is Adam Luciano, and I am Senior Director of Product Management for Avalanche, our cloud data warehouse platform with integration. So the agenda for today is talking about those 5 critical requirements for breakthrough operational analytics. And the way we boil them down is factors around performance, what the cloud offers, connectivity, security, and management. So we're going to cover all those topics here today. So before we start, why make the move of your data to the cloud in the first place? We boil down to 3 different areas: cloud economics, business agility, and modernization. From a cloud economics perspective, there is an aspect to operational expenses versus capital investment. So investing in your own infrastructure versus buying the infrastructure from a cloud provider. One of the other benefits associated with going down the cloud route is that you don't necessarily build up the associated technical debt with having your own infrastructure. So there's definitely a plus there. The other aspect is business agility. So, for example, to get IT resources, to spin up a project, you perhaps set up capacity within your own infrastructure could take a fair amount of time. We also have to get on the IT roadmap with that as well. The benefit here on the cloud side is they have that infrastructure at their disposal ready for you to start it up. So the amount of time it would take for you to start up a project is relatively minimal when working in cloud environments. Additionally, there's no capacity issues per se because you can scale up and scale down how much infrastructure you use within a cloud environment. So that helps on the business agility side. From a perspective of modernization, so the cloud provider handles all of the infrastructure underneath what is required for running business applications or running anything necessarily in the cloud. So there's really nothing for you or your IT department to worry about. There's high levels of automation and open standards. It is very secure, and we're going to go into that in a little bit. It has lots of ecosystems for you to be able to integrate into. And a big benefit there is that it removes IT from the day-to-day support. So if there are issues that pop up, you can go to the cloud provider directly, and they have a wide array of support options. And then additionally, you could just use IT for different types of projects internally. So the cloud really helps quite a bit from perspective of modernizing how you utilize IT infrastructure, how fast you can move in your projects, and how well you could scale up and scale down things. And there's also economics associated with the cloud that have benefits to your organization as well. So how does the operational analytics aspects fit in? So there are many different aspects of data sources across an organization. That can be things, for example, like sales data, it could be customer data, it could be marketing data, it could be logistics data, it could be IT related data. There's quite a few different areas of data sources that are available within an organization. So typically the way you would want to analyze that is you want to get them into some sort of data repository. The data repository can isolate effectively structured data. So this is something you would see like in an Excel work document, or semi-structured, where you get a lot of that through web services. This could be, for example, if you've ever heard of like JSON data formats, it's an example of that. So you have to basically be able to get that into a place where it can be managed and curated, into a place where it could be utilized by downstream applications. For example, your BI analytics, so business intelligence analytics, and dashboarding tools. So things like Tableau, Looker, Power BI, Click, those types of things. Once you have them in those setups, then you can start to figure out what's going on with that associated data. There could be questions that could be answered. There could be general reporting that could be developed. And then that's where you figure out if there are issues, how do you work through them? If you want to make investments into different things, for example, in marketing, which I'll talk about in a second, You can go forward doing, and that's how you really unlock that data. You unlock that data to be able to answer questions and drive value for your organization. So one of the key things that we at Acting are really adamant about in looking at this is performance. So we have there's a our general benchmark called TPCH, which has a set of different queries out of the box. There's about 22 of them, and I gave a sample of them here as examples that you could run through a proof of concept with Acting Avalanche. Our core competency is in significant performance. So let's take the example of Joe. And Joe is running a digital marketing analytics on large data sets to find a return on investment for his marketing tactics. Decision speed is really important because by being able to make fast decisions, Joe can then allocate resources across different marketing tactics and potentially get much better return on investment. So going at that basic performance angle, how does Avalanche stack up? So you've heard quite a bit about, if you looked into cloud providers for data warehouses, you probably heard a lot about Snowflake. Snowflake is, comparatively to Avalanche, significantly slower. Avalanche, from what we've done in independent tests, so we've got a company called Gigome that's run these TPCH benchmarks versus Snowflake and versus Avalanche. And what we found is Avalanche is 8 times faster than Snowflake. Now, there's a different dimension to this in the sense that when you're working with cloud resources, cost becomes pretty important because when you use cloud resources and when you do not use cloud resources are important considerations, because when you're not using, for example, computation, when you're running those queries, you're not necessarily, and you don't have the warehouse on, you're not necessarily paying for it. So that's a big consideration here. So if Avalanche is a lot faster, theoretically, you don't have to keep your warehouse on as much. Therefore, it's much more cost effective. Additionally, a quick note here is that as your data volume and concurrency increases, Avalanche gets better. And that's where I want to show you next here is that you're not going to necessarily be surprised by large bills for your data warehouse. As the concurrency goes up, as the amount of workloads get executed, Avalanche actually scales with that pretty well in a very small linear fashion, whereas folks like Snowflake, they have autoelasticity, and since they're not very efficient, they actually just scale warehouses in the background, and your costs can go through the roof. So it's an important consideration when you're thinking about a data warehouse in the cloud. So I want to share with you a really cool new innovation that we have here for Avalanche, something called query result caching. So let's say, for example, you have a query on your dashboard, and you want to, let's say in your Tableau, and you say, okay, I want to refresh my dashboard, so I press my refresh button. In the background, it goes to, for example, Acting Avalanche, and it would take, let's say, 60 seconds to crunch the result. Once the result is crunched, the result is sent back to you, and you can see your dashboard updated. Let's say, for example, 1 hour later, you do the same exact thing. You press refresh. 60 seconds later, Acting Avalanche sends back the result, and now you have your refreshed query result. With query result caching, it's a little bit different. So in the same example, send my dashboard query, refresh, Acting Avalanche, 60 seconds to generate the result, and then it's sent back to you. Let's say 1 hour later, I press the same button. What Acting does now is it actually checks if the underlying data has changed. So if the underlying data has not changed, therefore your result is the same, it's actually we just return what's in the cache. So it actually would be 0 seconds for you to return that same query. So a really nice little innovation I want to share with you. So cloud enables you to pay for what you need. So like we talked about before, what you actually utilize is what you pay for. So it's a little bit of a different paradigm shift versus what you do normally with on-premise. So we enable this in a couple of different ways, and we're looking to enhance it. From a perspective of how much computation you use and how much storage you use, you can scale those independently. So if you're using 1 terabyte of storage, that's all you're paying for. You're not necessarily paying for the entire disk or SSD if you're working in the cloud. Additionally, with compute, you can have a set warehouse size, And if you want to throw more workloads at it, we can scale it up. And then when you're done throwing workloads at it, we can scale it down. So it's a pretty nice little innovation here on the cloud side. Additionally, when you're not using your warehouse, we have a mechanism to detect if there's any activity in the warehouse, and if not, the warehouse automatically shuts down, looking to save costs for Avalanche users. Coming very soon, we're going to have a new scheduling mechanism where you can set up your warehouse to be able to start, let's say, for example, at 9 a.m. and shut down at 5 p.m. Additionally, you'll be able to scale it up at certain times as well. So, for example, if you're doing a lot of different, or throwing a lot of workloads at the warehouse, let's say from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. in the morning, we could have it automatically scale up, be able to meet your SLAs, and then scale back down automatically. Additionally, we have a new capability called Auto Start coming very soon, where on User Connect, the warehouse will actually just turn on. Right now, the users would have to go into the platform to turn it on, but soon the users won't be able to do that. Well, that necessarily won't be a requirement. So one other quick note I want to make to you is that all the coming soon references that I have during this presentation are for this year in 2021. So over the next 6 months, we're going to be delivering everything you see here under the coming soon title there. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. So the next aspect beyond cloud is connectivity. So Avalanche enables connectivity on a few different fronts. The first one is user connectivity. The second one is application and tool connectivity. And then the third one is data pipeline connectivity. So let's start from the user side of things. So from the user side of things, we have single sign-on. So I'm sure you guys are all familiar with that from working in your different organizations. It's a mechanism to store passwords internally and then leverage those to be able to sign to applications, and everything is managed by your organization or your identity provider. We've just launched single sign-on capabilities with Avalanche, and we have now Google single sign-on provider out of the box. So if you're using Google, you can log into Avalanche without an issue. And we have Okta and Azure Active Directory coming in 2021, and it's going to be coming out shortly. It will not be at the end of the year. So this will enable your user authentication to be handled by those different identity providers. So from a perspective of implementation of Avalanche, it gets very, very easy when you're working with these single sign-on providers. Next, so you have your users now in Avalanche. How do you connect different things that you want to do that Avalanche can be utilized for? So, for example, for analytics, Tableau, Power BI, Looker, and Click all out of the box work. We have native ODBC and JDBC drivers. So if there's something you want to connect to, you can just download the driver and connect to it via your desktop or load it to an application, be able to connect. So we have all those things right out of the box. Additionally, for your ETL tools, we just released a new IBM Data Stage connector, which has added enhancements to be able to facilitate loading and unloading of data very quickly. Informatica is also something that's going to be coming soon, very shortly. And then additionally, we have web services and JSON management. So we have a really cool way to be able to structure and manage JSON data. So this is that semi-structured data aspect I talked to you guys about earlier. We have a UI which will be able to set up and structure JSON, and then additionally facilitate the loading of Avalanche very easily and also very quickly. Additionally, as JSON can change, you can do it right through our UI. There's no coding involved with working with this, so it makes things really easy. And additionally, because you're working with those types of services, connecting to REST APIs and pulling data into Avalanche becomes a breeze. So we covered the application tool connectivity and the user connectivity. Now we're going to look at the data pipeline. So this is a big topic that folks have been talking about for quite a while now. How do we integrate data sources into data pipeline work? So for example, if you're going to be running, let's say, ML jobs, and you want to access data within Avalanche, you can be able to reach into Avalanche and pull the data, and then pipe that data through, let's say, an ML job. This is what we want to facilitate. So we have 3 different effective APIs we want to use that are REST-based. There's loading API, so that if you want, you could script it and load and have applications load Avalanche relatively easy through a REST API. We also have warehouse management APIs that are going to be coming, where you could facilitate the starting and stopping of the warehouses and associated management functions you would normally see within the Avalanche platform user interface. And then you have your data access API, so being able to read data from Avalanche directly. So we want to make sure we can integrate with your data pipelines. We want to make sure we can integrate with all your tools and integrate with your identity provider. So I think from a connection perspective, we have those different bases covered, and we're working to incorporate some other different aspects like Informatica and other API connectivity into Avalanche over the course of 2021. Next is security. So I think we've heard from different folks that security is a significant consideration with moving data into the cloud. It's not necessarily under your direct control when moving data into the cloud. So we want to make sure we cover that here. So we have all the general aspects of database security right out of the box and cloud security, which I'm going to walk through real briefly. I think from a database security side, the dynamic data masking is a really interesting feature that we rolled out a little while ago. But this basically enables obfuscation of data right within the system. This is in addition to encryption. So this is a nice little security enhancement that we have on the database side. Additionally, on the cloud security aspect, we have a key management service. So we utilize the cloud encryption services within the underlying cloud providers to encrypt the data out of the box. So there's nothing necessarily you have to provide to us. We just do it automatically. So once you load your data into Avalanche, everything's encrypted and safe. And then additionally, we're SOC 2 compliant. So this enables, make sure we have all the right audit controls and protections in place on our side, on the Acting Avalanche side, to make sure all the data is secure. So we are continuously enhancing our security aspects within Avalanche to utilize the best in-class technologies that are available from the cloud side. So at a high level, I think, from a user authentication, security of data in the cloud, and encryption, we have all the different aspects, but we're looking to enhance. So we are going to be coming out with multi-factor authentication. So this is if, for example, not just using your password, but let's say, for example, utilizing like an SMS text message on your phone or different types of mechanisms around that to help authenticate you in more than one way. So we're enhancing from the user authentication side. Additionally, from a data security side, we want to enable hybrid virtual private clouds. So if you've worked with your cloud provider to provision a virtual private cloud environment for yourself and your organization, we want to be able to deploy our data plane into those virtual private cloud environments so that you have even more security associated with working with your data within the cloud environment. And that'll be coming soon. Additionally, we want to enable private link. And what private link does is it effectively how your data moves within the cloud. It actually never is exposed to the public internet. And so we have that now for Azure, and will be coming soon for AWS and Google. And then for customer managed keys. So this is effectively, instead of us managing or the cloud provider managing the key, you could actually manage the key. So this is really helpful for if you have noticed that there's some sort of issue and you want to lock the warehouse, you could lock it on the cloud provider side, and it'll actually automatically lock on the Avalanche side as well. So this is a different level of management of encryption keys, and we have that now for AWS. It's going to be coming soon for Azure and Google. And then additionally, we're going to have the ability to be able to rekey the encryption keys within a warehouse, and that's going to be coming soon as well. So the next aspect is management. So there's a couple different areas here to cover. What we on the acting side do, which is on the left, and then what the DBA would effectively be able to do is on the right. So when you bring data into a cloud, you bring it into a managed service like Avalanche. We have a cloud operations team that monitors the infrastructure, okay, and automatically fixes things that are in their purview. So you don't necessarily have to worry about issues that might pop up. Sometimes things go down in the cloud. You probably have seen that. So we're working through that, and we want to make sure that you have your necessary SLAs met and your uptime met. and our Acting Cloud Operations team facilitates that. Additionally, there is no necessarily to worry about the patching and updates associated with your system. We handle all that out of the box. So as upgrades or updates happen within our infrastructure, that could be things in our web console, like our query are being updated, or it could be things in the database side of things. We handle all of that for you. And if there is any associated downtime that's needed to update your system, we will work with you to make sure that we do it at the right time. Additionally, we offer services around DBA services, so that if you want to necessarily outsource that, we could facilitate that with Actian, a professional services team. On the other side of things, where you're managing, let's say, access control, or you want to work through maintenance things, or you want to manage your costs from a scalability perspective, let's say I want to scale up and scale down, or I want to make sure that I hit certain cost thresholds, that would be something that you guys would cover on your end on the organization side. We provide tools and reporting to help facilitate that. On the monitoring side, we have tools to be able to monitor the warehouse and enable alerts to associated activity and errors that might pop up. So we want to make sure we provide those tools to you, and those are in the self-serve user interface. And then additionally, we have a really cool new workload management feature, which I want to talk about in the next slide. But in general, on a high level, when you move your data into the cloud, you get certain benefits from a infrastructure perspective. And when you move with Avalanche, you get some additional benefits there, which will help work through a monitoring of the infrastructure. We handle all of the patches and the updates, and we're there for you if you want to outsource some of the DB related activities to us. Okay, so from a perspective of optimizing your warehouse, we have a new queue-based workload management tool. And the basic premise here is that you could set up queues where workloads get sent, and you can have associated concurrency limits within them. So you could build queues to meet your needs. So for example, you could have a queue that has, if I want to send a workload to it and it only takes a second, I could set up a special queue that says, okay, that's going to get special priority because that's a very fast query to answer. If we go back to our original example around Joe and marketing analytics, let's say, for example, I want to have my own marketing analytics queue. And I want to have jobs that when they're sent to that queue, I want to specify, let's say, a high level of prioritization. So, for example, if I want to set a medium level prioritization or high level prioritization, I could do that. I have my own setup. And then let's say, for example, I want to execute those jobs and have more resources associated with those jobs from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. So I can work with my DBA to say, okay, here I want to have a special queue. This is the profile that I want to set up so that from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. I get more resource allocation from the warehouse. So that's set up called the workload management profile. And then I work with my DBA to implement it. So from this perspective, what you could do is you could fine tune how workloads get executed in the system from a perspective of queues. So you could have, for example, a queue for your CEO if you want them to send data to the warehouse really quickly. You can have all that set up, and then additionally we have all the monitoring and analytics associated with making this work really, really well, so you could fine tune how this system works. And we're going to be coming soon with an analytics user interface right within the self-serve platform, so that you can again fine tune the workload. So this is a really cool feature that we're coming out to help fine tune your warehouse to make it work in the way that you want. So to come back and to talk about how Avalanche enables those requirements for operational analytics, there's the aspects of performance. Acting Avalanche, highest performance out there. It's really important to consider performance not only from in the experience of the user, but also from perspective of total cost of ownership, right? If you're not using the resources as much, you can shut them down. That's one of the big benefits of the cloud. And the high performance aspect of Acting Avalanche really plays into that very well. We use the best aspects of the cloud, right? So from a perspective of cost, what you put into the warehouse is what you pay for on the storage side. If you take, let's say you put in 2 terabytes of information, and you only you're using that, If you want to, let's say, take data out of the warehouse and you bring it down to 1 terabyte, that's all you're going to be paying for. From perspective of cloud computation, if you want to scale the warehouse up and down, we are there and ready to do that for you, right within, and that's all controlled via the user interface. What we connect to, we connect to the information that the different tools and the different dashboards, the different ETL tools, all the different things we connect into the web services aspects we connect into. We have a really cool utility within the user interface to help manage all of that. We connect into single sign-on mechanisms, and we're going to be continuing to enhance that. And then additionally, we're working through enabling Avalanche to be able to connect into your data pipelines via RESTful APIs. So we have strong security, but we want to use the best benefits of cloud, and we answer that. Multi-factor authentication. We're going to continue advancing in different types of encryption mechanisms like customer managed keys and so forth. Warehouse read keys, all those different things that help enable all those different aspects to enabling the best of breed security within a cloud environment. And management. We have managed services that you get with the Acting Avalanche offering and platform. And we also have tools built into the self-serve user interface to help make your job easier as a DBA. And we're advancing that with new capabilities like our queue-based workload management solution to facilitate even more fine-tuning and extracting value out of your data warehouse. So from perspective of, I think it answers this the question around operational analytics. We enable that. We enable the best benefits of cloud, and we enable you able to manage that really easily within the Avalanche platform. So I would encourage all of you to go and sign up for our free trial. So no credit cards needed. Just go sign up. We give you $500 credits to test drive Avalanche, and load it up with your data and give it a spin. Thank you very much.